You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What is shaking today, guys? We're chatting with Tony DUrso, who's also the host of the Tony DUrso Show. It's the #1 show on the entire Voice America network, getting over 100,000 downloads per weekly episode. He's pushing 7 million listeners to date, and it's all within just a few years. We're going to talk to him about the vision map, which is his testament to success. Tony, welcome to the show.
Mike, thank you so much for having me on the Business and Life podcast. It's an honor to be here. You know, I've also been on the Entrepreneur on Fire, and John Lee has been on my show too. I've learned a lot if you listen to my interview, I followed him without him knowing. He was my secret mentor, which I talk about elsewhere. And I've learned so much from just watching what he does. So you're Absolutely. In good hands.
Yeah, no, thank you. He's been a great coach for me and was able to wrap me up with his journal. And here I am now taking a similar model, and 7 days a week is a lot of work. Today I'm doing 14 hours of podcasting. Wow. But it's what it takes in order to feel to run my own company still, but still at the minimum base, being able to, of course, have a great team behind it to do the editing and the posting, et cetera. But I'm stoked to have you on the show here and chat a little bit more about what you do. So tell our listeners a little bit, something interesting maybe about yourself, and also where you're calling in from today.
Well, I'm calling in from Anaheim, California.
Cool.
Not too far from Disneyland, which is still open despite the issues that's going on in the world today.
Wow.
Yeah, they're getting a special permission to hold large gatherings, and that's in progress right now, if not already done.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I know everything else is shutting down. We'll talk about my travel company that is in legitimately a scarce position right now because of everything. I'm in Bogota, Colombia right now. I actually lived in Newport Beach for the past 12 years until moving to Puerto Rico. So I know Anaheim very well. I was just at Knott's Berry Farm over early February this year for a couple of days. So yeah, definitely right in your neck of the woods. And so tell us a little bit about what's going on with your show, the Tony DUrso Show. What is it? What is it about? What does it bring to the marketplace?
The Tony DUrso Show started off four years and a couple months ago as Revenue Chat, which was to get entrepreneurs together, talk about how to scale their business, how to help solopreneurs, small business owners, as well as people with careers can chime in. And that just took off like fire, Mike, after a while. And there were a lot of podcasts out there, but whatever it was, I just dialed it in. It went really well. And then over time, it morphed into another show on Voice America, The Spotlight. And that went even better than ever. And then I did the crazy thing. I had two weekly shows. One was a half hour, one was an hour. And I did the crazy Italian thing. I merged them into one giant show, and I wound up doubling my audience. And it's just been growing. It's been growing like wildfire since. I've now renamed it the Tony DUrso Show so that wherever I go, it's the same show because it's portable. And even though it's had a few name changes over the years, it's still the same basic concept. I interview successful people, well-known household names, and find out what is it how they got their success and learn from that, just like you do, just like John Lee Dumas does. Sure. And, I want to give you a kudo and hats off to you because, as you know, and as the audience, you cannot read every single person's book. You cannot go to every person's lecture. You cannot go to every seminar. It's impossible. So you need people like Mike, John Lee Dumas, and myself, I hope, to get that distillation of the really well-known successful people and get those activities and so forth so that you can help scale your business. So that's why I think that these sort of podcasts are very successful.
They really are. I think as an entrepreneur and as a podcast listener, listening to John's, listen to podcasts similar to yours and others out there, just understanding that learning consistently is tough, right? And finding the time to do that, but being a 20-minute, 30-minute, hour podcast, whatever you can consume, and that's good content, that's why I decided to do it. Likely, probably why you decided to do it, is that we're spreading a really cool message and almost kind of like the Cliff's Notes of people's successes. And like you said, it's really hard. I go to Audible and I'll go through a book or two a week at the gym, but when it's all said and done, I love to hear and talk to people like yourself and others that have been successful within, whether it's a show, the podcast game, entrepreneurship. And I've been blessed to be successful in the entrepreneurship world, diving into the podcasting world now over doing 7 days a week. Definitely is tough, but it's exciting more just to kind of hear and learn. And I'm almost looking at this as more of a coaching process. Even though I do coach and I help people, when it's all said and done, I'm learning a lot, and I love that. Right. And so I want to really dive into a little bit about your show, and I love hearing what your model is very similar, but also kind of giving me some, you've done it for what, a few years now, 4 years?
4 years and a couple months.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on that, because we know, I think there's some statistics. You probably know this more than I do.
75% of the podcasters last year, 75%, they disappeared. There's even a word in the dictionary now called pod fade, because people do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows and then they're gone.
I think the average was like 7 and quit.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me to think that, like, because I did that, in one day, right? But I also, I get it. And I think I get it because I've had the entrepreneurship journey behind it, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I knew what it was going to take coming in, right? I knew it wasn't going to be just, let's just give it a shot. Because I saw that from a business perspective, that I didn't also view it as a business yet. And I think at some point, obviously, to me, my expectation wasn't just, I'm going to blow up overnight, right? Or I'm going to become JLD or Entrepreneur Magazine podcast overnight. No, I think this patience level that I've had to convince myself on a mindset level is important. But knowing that, it takes 1, 2, 3 years to get where someone wants to be. And I think that you've obviously had that patience, right, Tony? And I think that's really something I want to chat with you about. So you've gone through this. Give me the ups and downs. Give me something where you got close to hitting rock bottom and had to overcome some crazy objections, or even your own, like, am I going to keep doing this, right? Have you had those conversations with yourself?
Oh, let me tell you, in the first year, I'm hitting like the first, maybe right after the first year, I'm like 500, 700,000 downloads. I have to really look at the calendar to tell you. And I got hacked. Now, I just didn't get hacked, Mike. I got hacked.
Really?
Images gone, posts gone, blogs gone, this gone. And then I would put it back up. I go, oh, this is weird. Well, how come this is not there? And I would put it back up, and then something else is gone. And this cat and mouse game is going in. Everything was taken away from me. Why? Who knows? Somebody in the other side of the world probably thinks, oh, rich capitalist. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I was in some kindergarten for hackers to playing with me, but I was devastated. And I want to tell you, it brought me to my knees. And I said, forget this. Everything is lost. And believe it or not, the pain was strong. And my wife said, Tony, you've built it before. Look at what you did. You can do it again. And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, if you'll just hold my hand a little bit, I'll rebuild it back up. And I did.
Awesome.
And I've been hacked, I believe, 3 times in 4 years, to the point where my website domain kept going to somebody else's place to sell stupid things. So It will happen. And you just have to be vigilant. And you have to be so dedicated, like John Lee Dumas, just day in, day out, day in, day out. I applaud you. 7 shows a week. That's a crazy maker.
I know. Believe it or not, I figured if I started this way, I'm giving myself, the potential of, just like John's did, and like a lot of other podcasts have, he's changed over to the masterclass format, right? Where that's okay. I feel like I'm doing this to learn and extremely learn fast. And I think I did over the first 10, 20, 30 episodes, right? And knowing that you're going to suck out of the gate, that's normal. We got to walk before we run. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But I think that, it's definitely a lot. 7 days a week, but I'm committed to it. I'm sitting here in Bogota, Colombia, possibly not being able to travel because of the coronavirus, possibly having one of my biggest company go through some pretty big potential huge changing processes because of it. But like I told some of our past episodes recently today, even just because you're going to hear these while this comes out, is that I would rather be on the call with guys like you right now to make sure my mindset is clear when the time I have to face that, right? And I'm really getting some of that understanding that, yeah, I should be putting out a lot of fires, but there's tomorrow, and I'll figure it out because I want to make sure I get a chance to chat with you guys. And this honestly makes me happy. It gets me excited to be able to chat with people that have done what others that are listening I know want to do, and you're spreading the story as well here too. So why do you think why do you think a lot of entrepreneurs or podcasters? Let's just go through the podcast game now because those are the entrepreneurs that we know. Why do you think they give up? By the way, why do you think it is that 7 is the average and they just bail?
Well, monetize. It's a lot of work. That's why I applaud you at 7 shows. Just one show a week and doing everything else I do is sometimes a little bit just too much.
Yeah.
It's monetizing the show and it's getting the audience. And you know, podcasters go in with an open heart, very honest, very pure, just like you and I. We want to share. But something's got to put food on the table. And if that doesn't happen, they bail. And I get that. Even though I've been hacked, I have two reasons I believe that are the testament to my success. One is I knew how to market. I came in knowing how to market. I wrote books on marketing. I know how to bring visitors, drive people. I know how to drive people to podcasts. And, you know, everyone does, but it's just you got to put in the work. And the other is I wrote out something. We've learned bits and pieces of it. I wrote out the vision map, which is consider like a roadmap. You know, when you're driving somewhere, you know, to your destination, you don't necessarily see it, but you know, because it's on the map. So you need this map to take you to where you're going. So I started writing out and I developed the roadmap, which it's words we've heard before, Mike, but you know, you've heard tire, you've heard dashboard, steering wheel, you've heard engine. I tell you right now, there's not one person in the world that could go in his garage and build a car from scratch, pour the tires, build the engine, make all the metal from scratch. It's impossible. You need to buy the parts. You need someone to help you. So even though some of these words we may say in this interview, people go, oh, I know that. Yeah, well, you know, eggs, sugar, flour, but that doesn't help you make a beautiful, delicious souffle or presentation. Yeah. So it's knowing what to do with some of these. And I wrote that out and I drilled it down. And I call it the vision map. It's a map to bring you to where your vision is, to what you want, that mountain that perhaps you don't see while you're driving down the road. And that, Mike, really got me through. And yeah, when I get hacked, I know I said when because it's already happened before. I just sail through it. It's not even a speed bump anymore for me.
Yeah. What kind of advice can you give people to not get hacked?
Well, get a really good tech guy that you trust. Yeah. My tech guy has been with me now for 3 years. And get on. I went to the most expensive, sophisticated website system that there was, and I still wound up getting my domain name taken away. You know, these hackers, they do clever things I don't even know about. And some hacker may hear this, and it doesn't matter what they do. So they're you know, I say get a tech guy because things change. And if I say something, it might be the wrong thing because the software and everything has changed on that.
What's happening, Life Nation? Michael Levis here. This is a time to do the right thing, not the profitable thing. I'm giving away COVID-19 business strategy sessions for free. I promise to give you my honest advice and coach you on a strategy that I feel would be best for the longevity of your business. I'm not asking you for your money. But in the interest of being able to help as many people as I can, I am asking you to be ready with your 1 to 2 specific questions so we can jump right into it. Go to michaellevis.com/coaching and simply schedule a call on my calendar. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com/coaching. So tell us about the vision map. What did it take to create that vision map?
I wrote it out and I created and perfected it while I was going through it. And the first thing I did is I started with the word vision. Now, I'm going to plug Jordan Adler, Beach Money. I've probably sold thousands of his books. I have no idea.
Good.
In the first 2 to 3 chapters, he talks about his vision. Jordan Adler talks about a time when he was devastated, no job, no money, no income, no house, no girlfriend, no life. And what he did is he went out and he wrote his vision of what he really felt he should be doing. But he went into the future, Mike, and he turned and he looked back and goes, I should this, and this. And he spent hours putting that together, the whole afternoon, as I recall. And what's interesting about that, Mike, is fast forward a couple years later, he's moving. And in the moving, he finds that document that he wrote. And you know what he did? He sat down and he started crying. Why did Jordan Adler cry? Because he now had the job he wanted. He was moving into a brand new house that he owned. He had the girlfriend of his dreams. And at that time, he was making $100,000 a month.
Wow.
And he gives incredible information in that book. I always give it a plug. And I read that book and it inspired me to write the rest of it out, write out all the steps, write out my experience. I've gone to school. I've studied business. I've been through all this. And I've read books. So I took everything I knew from everyone and all my experience, and I created this map because it didn't exist. And so back to where I say, you know these words, but it's how to use them. And may I say, a vision, just so everyone knows, is very simple. It's the dictionary says it's the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And the way I like to say to people is, if I handed you your future, what would you be doing, Mike? And don't say, oh, I'll be sitting at the beach all day or at the pool all day. Yeah, maybe you take breaks, but what would you be doing? Well, you'd be doing what you love to do. You'd be doing what you'll get up every day and do, whether you get paid or not, which is what I do on podcasting. It's that passion. It's what you do. Yep. And so it's doing. Your vision is what you see yourself doing. And you go into the future. Think of it like a dream. Think of it like you're making a movie. You go into the future, you look back and you go, I'm doing this. And I did that for podcasts. You know, I'm speaking, I'm writing books, I'm podcasting well-known, successful people. I didn't know any. I had zero audience, and I didn't know any household names, you know, but I've interviewed them, you know. So I wrote I'm going to interview these people, blah, blah, blah. And so that I set my vision, which, by the way, is one sentence long. It's not a book. It's one sentence. Yeah. And then there's, you know, if you want me to go into the other steps, there's like a couple of other key steps.
Yeah, please.
And, well, after you do your vision, and by the way, that's doing as a D, and it's what you see yourself accomplishing. The next step is your purpose. Here's, well, why are you doing that? What's your reason for doing that? And just so we have it, the dictionary says that purpose is the reason for which something is done or created. We say it's our passion, it's what you want to do, it's your why, it's whatever. So what gets you up every day that you'll do because you love doing it? I love helping people. I love connecting people to good information. I'm a connector, I'm a communicator. This is me, this is my essence. So I love that. And it's being with the B. It's who are you being? What are you doing? So I'm being a connector. I'm being an educator. I'm being a facilitator. And you write your purpose, one sentence, Mike. Now, at this point, we're going to take a pyramid upside down. And the big, broad one at the top is your vision. And then underneath that is your purpose. And then underneath that is something I developed to be clear. Because if I said to you, the next step is goal. Everybody, I'll bet you, everybody has a different definition for goal. It's something you do in 1 day, 1 week, 1 hour, 1 month, 1 year. It's a ball in a net. So I thought, let's call it a long-term objective. It's what's the object? What's the aim? What's your desired result? What do you see yourself having accomplished and I just say 2 or 3 years, because, you know, the world changes so fast. Even 2 years is probably too long anymore because things just change so fast. And just a little segue, you probably know 50 years ago, Mike, corporations would sit there and they would do 15, 20-year strategies. Yeah. You can't do that anymore. That's like, what? Are you joking? It's like, It's impossible.
It would be
So
nice though, but yeah, you can't.
You can't. The world changes too much. And I accomplished my vision map in just a couple of years. Boom, and do a new one. So it's what you see yourself accomplishing. Now, here's where if you have a book, it's your physical book. You have a course, it's the physical course. If you're building a building, it's your physical building. If you're a car maker, it's your physical car. It's what is that final objective? You can touch it, see it, feel it, smell it, sort of thing. And I call that having. It's what you have. And you write that down. You haven't created it yet, but this is going on your vision map, just like writing a recipe.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to have this, and so I started writing, all this stuff out. And now that is a nice little paragraph. The others are sentences. This is kind of like long. This is what I see myself doing. You could break it down. If you're a consultant, you might write a book, you might have a class, you might do masterminds. So what are these things? And yes, you're getting yourself all nicely organized, Mike, and it's hanging on to your vision and your purpose. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
well, thank you. And under that, now, okay, you've got your vision, your purpose, and you've got your long-term objective you want to accomplish. Okay. How are you going to do that? Well, that's where the master plan comes in. Now, the dictionary says the plan it's a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something. All right. So this, in our sense, means you're going to take that long-term objective that you just worked out, and you're going to write out the plan of how you're going to accomplish. How are you going to get that book done and read? How are you going to get that mastermind? How are you going to do that class? And the master plan has 2 steps, Mike. It has one step is the strategy, which is the real how are you going to do it. And to kind of give it to you in a military sense, let's just say that a particular island is important militarily. It's a great corridor. It's what you need to keep the enemy at bay. So your strategy may be let's get this island. Let's take control of this island. That could be the strategy, for example.
Yeah.
Well, then the next step is tactical. And that's the actual steps. Now, first we've had like all this stuff in our head and on paper, but now the rubber starts to meet the road. This is the tactical, which the dictionary says is careful actions that achieve or help accomplish a plan. So what are you going to do to take that hill, that island, that area, that space? What are you going to do? And so you now start working out all that. And again, everyone, you've heard these words, but when you do it, it's a different exercise. It's something different. As everyone knows, because you followed a recipe somewhere along in life, or you followed some list and you accomplished something. I know I did. Before I ever did woodworking, I learned how to do it, and I played with the tools and I made stuff. It was like, wow, this is cool. So once you really do it, then you know. So now this master plan, this tactical, is now a really long, because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And as you notice, it's on this inverted pyramid. It starts getting like this. And at the point is your things to do list. This is where those actions now I do today that lead to a tactical step, that leads to getting the strategy in place, that leads to my long-term objective in place, that leads to accomplishing my purpose, that leads to fulfilling my vision. And I said it very fast, but it takes time to do this. If it takes you a month or 2 to work this all out, that's fine. Now I'll give you a simple, fast example. I took a student who was selling something on Amazon, and he was getting 5 sales a month, okay? I took him on as a student, and all I did was work on the vision plan, the vision map. And about 2 months, he got up to 12 sales a day.
Nice.
And it was a competitive market of what he was in. It just gives an example.
Yeah.
And it's just where you focus. For me, I'm pushing 7 million downloads on my show in just a little over 4 years. So it really does work. But you gotta apply it, because no one's going to do it for you, right? You know that.
Right.
You
Application's huge.
But this is just like making a good meal.
How do you feel, if there was let's just go back to this here, because if you had to give some current entrepreneurs out there or aspiring entrepreneurs one piece of parting advice, Tony, what would you give them? You've spoken to hundreds of them, right? And now I have as well. But what would you give them as what you feel would be a very good piece of parting advice to them today?
You've done something which is not easily done to an Italian. Is you've totally stopped me in my tracks.
Good.
So I think I have to move my hands now because that's how I talk.
Become animated. That'll help.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I can think now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Italian, so I can say that.
That's right.
I've got so many things that I would love to tell people, and I learn every day, just like you. I am mentored 2-3 hours a week. I've learned so much stuff that I can help anybody scale in their business. This vision map is my gold. I give that away free on my site. There's so much I could say. I would say one thing I learned just today in an interview, which I've been doing for a while, but I was getting self-conscious at it. And that is, I went away from what I thought was the fold, the vogue, the trend on social media. And I just started putting pictures of myself four-wheeling, hanging out in the mountains with the wife and my dog, and hanging out in the snow, and going here, Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, California, going all over. And that's what we do. So I just started putting my love out there. And I started feeling a little weird because you don't see very much about, hey, check out this podcast, check out this show. I just don't do it very much. And yet my show is growing like crazy. But I started to feel self-conscious. And I learned today in interviewing and being mentored by someone that that's really what you really should be doing. So I know it sounds weird, but I've learned that after all these years. So what that means is really just show who you are.
Be yourself. Yeah.
But again, you hear the words and it goes in and out the ear. So,
no.
But it's the application is the difference. There's the whole thing. Because Mike, we hear these words all the time. We listen to podcasts all the time. But when you stop and follow some directions and you see the results, it just changes things.
Absolutely.
I hope that helps.
It really does. I think authenticity, living your truth. I think there's a lot to be said about what you just said there, Tony. So thank you so much for those value bombs here, knowledge bombs that we're given to the business and life peeps out there listening. And where can they find you, Tony?
Well, easy is DUrso.com. That's my website. It's got my podcasts there. Yes, I'm on all the podcast platforms, and you can find the links there. You can find my social media there. It's the simplest go-to.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
And you can even find how to reach me there, and I answer all my messages. By the way, can I give you my second value bomb? The School
Please.
of Hard Knocks. I'm a 3-time School of Hard Knocks. No, that's a little, at least double. I learned, do not let VAs answer your messages.
Got it.
Oh my. That was such a message. I can't get over the world of difference. When you do that, you're distancing yourself, and your VA doesn't know what's in your head, what's in your show, what you like to say. And I've had different VAs, and my personal communication was just weird. But here's the thing, you think you need someone to help you answer 100 emails and 100 social posts a day. Well, guess what? I personally answer everything on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I answer it on LinkedIn. It takes time. It takes hours sometimes. But it's always in date order. So I do eventually answer everything. And I find this connects me more with my audience, makes me more real. And more people love my shows. So that is probably, go figure. I had to learn that.
That's great. That's great advice. You're right. Because you can't share yourself authenticity wise, like to a VA or too many, unless it's your wife, your son, your brother, someone that knows you that well. You're right. I think that's some great advice. Well, Tony, hey, thanks so much for jumping on the show. And we look forward to hearing some more great things from the Tony DUrso Show.
Mike, thank you so much for having me on Business of Life. Again, it's my honor. Thank you so much. And thank you to your audience.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.